Hi, these comments are for KR, and this is Michael from BetterTOEFLScores.com, and you're one of my online TOEFL course students. You submitted two things, a speaking and a writing practice test. I will give you feedback on both of these right now in this YouTube video. So you said, in this one, you said, Dear Michael, I did the independent speaking practice test and independent writing practice test from the questions in your website. See, for the speaking, here's the attached audio, and that's fine to send it by email. See, what do you think is better, living on campus in dorms or living off campus in apartments? I have the independent speaking rubrics right here. Let's see how you're doing with this practice test.
Benefit over living off campus for me for these reasons.
Can we go back to the beginning one more time?
Living on campus in dormitory provides benefit over living off campus for me for
I want to say more benefits compared to living off campus.
these reasons. Firstly, we can live closer to our friends that make us easier for studying and for practice.
And when you say we, who is we? So I would be a little bit more precise. You can say students.
Lessons together. Secondly, living.
Now, let's give an example there, though. Do you have an example where you lived on campus and you were close to some of your friends? Right? If that's the case, then give a specific example there to elaborate. You see where it says here, overall development somewhat limited, usually lacks elaboration or specificity. You talk about we, but you're not specific with that, right? You talk about living on campus and being close to friends, but you don't specifically explain that idea with an example.
Being on campus provides us accessible to university facilities.
I'll say it provides us easier access. I would use a noun there. Easier access to facilities
such as gym, library, or even food hall. Therefore, we can save cost of living by living in dormitory.
Therefore, we can save the cost of living. No, therefore, we can be closer to our friends and get to the needed facilities a lot faster. When you say therefore, you need to tie up those ideas. If you go cost of living, that's kind of a whole nother idea. So you need to give an example of when you're maybe you or someone you know maybe lives or lived on campus and they were close to a library facility or they're close to the dorm hall or the food cafeteria.
To sum up, I believe that living in dormitory is better than living on an in apartment off campus.
Okay. So when you're speaking, you have some problems. Listener effort is needed because of unclear articulation, awkward tone, or choppy rhythm. So I think you have a little bit of a choppy rhythm with your pronunciation, and you do have some that results in some awkward pauses. With your articulation, you have to be careful about medial and final consonant sounds. Sometimes you're not clearly pronouncing those consonant sounds clearly as you would need to. So your score here, I think I'm going to put you at 2.5 to 3. I'm going to put you maybe 19 to 20 points out of 30 on this practice test. So in my online TOEFL course, I have some things I want you to take a look at, right? So if you go here, if you go over to my blog for a minute, right, I want you to type in these keywords. This one, lacks TOEFL speaking elaboration. I think that is exactly a good lesson for you right now. You see this one? I want you to take a few minutes to go through this lesson so that you know the specificity that's expected of you during the TOEFL exam, and it can help you, it can improve your examples that you're giving in the practice test that you're submitting to me. So I think that's definitely something that you can work on right now. All right? So I think comfortably, I think some of what you do is in the 2 areas, some of what you do is in the 3 here. That's why I'm saying maybe 19 to 20 points on this one, I think. So Thank you for doing the practice test, and I'm going to take a look at the writing here in just a minute. Concerning your writing, you said in the email, I submitted the quiz for independent writing practice test 1. I just read it. So the topic here is many students have to live with roommates while going to school or universities. What are some of the important qualities of a good roommate? Use specific reasons and examples to explain why these qualities are important. Okay, so let's see what we have. So I went into to my website and I found your essay, right? So I'm going to grade it according to the official rubrics right here. And at this point, I think this describes your writing right here. You have some problems with sentence formation, word choice. I think you can probably develop ideas a little bit better. It says using somewhat developed explanations. So I think maybe for this first reason here, and then for this one here, I'm going to give you a score. I'm going to put you at maybe between 20 and 22 points out of 30 on this practice test. So here it is, right? So let's do this. What does Microsoft think about it? Microsoft has artificial intelligence grammar check that looks at it. The TOEFL also has E-Rater, an artificial intelligence scoring engine that looks again at your grammar, your word choice, vocabulary, and so on. So let's see what Microsoft thinks. Okay, so we have good news and bad news. The good news is you definitely have some great vocabulary in here. You have 5.4 is your average character length. Anything above 5 is good. The bad news is your sentence length is a little bit low at 18.9. I recommend you get closer to 25 on that. Your grade level, your Flesch-Kincaid grade level is 12.5. So I think you can make some improvements with you can make some improvements with the sentence length. I think is one thing you can work on. Now, when I look at the whole thing here, I think you need to develop ideas a bit more. Let's take a look at this. You have 303 words, right? I recommend anywhere from 450 to 550. It sounds crazy, but that's how you're going to get that 29 or 30. So the first thing is your introductory paragraph needs to be closer to 100 words. I like that you do have a thesis here. This is a good thing, right? Now in this paragraph, what I'd like you to do in this body paragraph here is to develop it like you did with this one. You took a lot of time to develop this particular example there. That's strong. And that's why this paragraph is actually, it's over 100 words, right? However, this paragraph is not as developed at 65. So you want to show a bit more development here. So when you talk about your example here, you can add maybe develop this in 3 or 4 more lines. That's going to give you a little bit more depth and progression of thought. And I think the same thing stands here. You did a really good job on that second body paragraph, but not so much here. In fact, respectfulness can improve giving respect. Also, it can improve relationships. No, you have no example in here. Period. Nothing. Right? So the only paragraph that's really effective with your examples is that second body paragraph in which you talk about being in the top science school, right? So that's why when I looked at the rubrics, it says addresses a topic and task, yes, using somewhat developed explanations, examples, and or details. You can do better there. I definitely cannot say well developed here. I cannot say that. Or if you get to the 5, are you kidding me? Well organized and well developed, using clearly appropriate. I can't say that. I can't say this. And then the other thing is the grammar issues. You have some grammar problems. I'll just give you one example. So in this third body paragraph, which I really like, right? You say, in contrast, I believe I wouldn't success in my academic goals if I, you want to say here, I wouldn't have succeeded. You need a verb here. If my academic goals, in my academic goals, if I had lived with friends who went out for parties every night, right? So this is just one example of many. So in this case, I need to use what's called the past perfect tense to talk about a past impossible condition. So you just did not control that very well here. So that tells me that you definitely have a lot of problems with your verbs. So that's something that you want to work on also. Okay, so I think the advice I gave you with your speaking about how to improve your examples, I think that you can improve in both areas, right? So sometimes a problem you have in speaking, it's also a problem you have in writing. So in both cases, you need to develop your ideas a little bit more. I know you know how to do it because you did it here. You just need to be more consistent. You need to take time to develop your examples in all three body paragraphs, not just one. Show me you can do it in all three. Okay, so based on my feedback here, I think a good example, if you want one more thing that you can look at over at my website, over at Better TOEFL Scores. Okay, I want you to go over here, go to here, this one. TOEFL Independent Writing Strategies. This is also a very important lesson for you. And anybody watching a YouTube, you can check it out. It's a free lesson. So what I want you to do here, KR, is take a look at the for the TOEFL Independent Writing Strategies. Click on the link. And then what I want you to do is look at the model essays. We have a model essay for agree or disagree. We have a model response for explain both sides, a model response for make an argument for multiple sides. And look at each of those examples and then pay attention to the example that I use in each body paragraph, and that shows you the kind of depth and progression of thought that you want to use to get that really, really high score. Right? So I think that's good. I think I have one more thing too, is if you go over to my online TOEFL course under the writing section, you can take a look at the lesson. It's called Writing the Perfect Paragraph. I think that's a good lesson for you also.